In this video I want to talk about contract administration. Now the responsibilities of the contract administrator will be defined by the building contract or the professional appointment under which the contract administrator is appointed. The role can be undertaken by the client themselves, although it is not often the case. The role involves managing the contract, and it can be undertaken by several possible professionals, including most likely project managers or architects or surveyors or engineers. The role of the contract administrator does not technically commence until the contract is in place, although in practice the responsibilities of the contract administrator will be commenced before the building contract starts. The qualities required of a contract administrator can be summarised as follows. They need to have knowledge and skill to understand the relevant contractual provision. They need to act in a manner which is independent, you might say impartial and fair when making decisions. You need to have in-depth knowledge of construction, be good at record keeping, be aware, conversant with programming techniques. And the key tasks that the contract administrator will be required to undertake could include chairing meetings, periodically inspecting the works, giving instructions including variations or change orders, monitoring the progress of the works, authorising payments to the contractor, confirming the date of completion, confirming a final account. It's advisable to have sufficient site inspections to be undertaken by the contract administrator. Effectively, we're looking to make sure that the contract is discharged correctly. The frequency of site inspections can be broadly determined by the complexity of the work, the calibre of the contractor and the site personnel, and also the progress stage of the works. The following are a checklist produced as a guide, but they're not exhaustive, and nor will they be appropriate for all projects. In the pre-commencement phase, the contract administrator should obtain copies from the employer of all of the following. We're looking for acceptance of the tender or quotation. We're looking at acceptance and authority to commence the works. We're looking for planning permissions, listed building applications and approvals to make sure that they've been discharged and the commencements for the start of the works. We're looking for any reserved planning matters to have been identified and processed. We're looking for building regs approval. And finally, if appropriate, a hoarding licence. Other matters that you might need to consider, although not necessarily always for a restaurant contract, is whether you need a road closure notice, wayleaves, rights of way, oversailing licences, any party wall agreements, any archaeological notices, asbestos notices, fuel, chemical or refrigerant tank notices, and also any works around life services, i.e. underground or overhead. In obtaining copies of the following from the contractor, the contract administrator should be satisfied that all is in order to allow for the works to start on site. Here you would consider the master programme, information required, schedules and with dates appropriate to those, names and contact details for any key personnel, and also that the HSE Form F10 has been submitted. Other administrative matters that you might consider would include the contractor's tax certificate, VAT certificates, their bank details and insurance certificates, which should include the employer's insurance broker, and also renewal dates. Maybe you might want to also consider performance bonds, parent company guarantees and warranties. In the pre-contract stage, we'll talk about having a pre-start meeting shortly, but you should be considering as a contract administrator having the following in writing. That is, persons authorised to issue instructions, systems for issuing instructions, employers' approval procedures, names of key personnel, their responsibilities and contact details. We're looking for procedures for issuing drawings. We need to understand the boundary of the site and the site restrictions, any works that are to be sublet by the main contractor, and any processes or details required to be making notifications for insurance purposes. During the construction phase, the contract administrator should also consider all instructions, confirmation approvals and records to be issued in writing. They should confirm the date that the works actually started and commenced on site. They should also confirm the proposed contract completion date. Financial matters to be considered by the contract administrator will include issuing of certificates for payment, valuation dates, the payment procedures and the invoices and accounts payable, latest payment dates that go with those invoices. You might also want to consider any indemnity for any materials off-site. Records that need to be kept by all parties will include weekly site labour and plant returns, daily weather reports, as-built programmes, progress photographs, any concrete or mortar cube test results, any test certificates generally, subcontractors where they're employed on the works, any major material suppliers, what instructions have been made, confirmed and approved, how they've been dated, who actually instructed those works. Now, instructions for expenditure or omissions of provisional sums will also be handled by the contract administrator. Instructions changing or varying the works will be dealt with through the contract administrator, although the instructions may have commenced through various parties, including the client themselves. Thereby, we need to record the reason for that instruction, change or variation. At completion, the contract administrator should organise the snagging inspection, organise all testing and handover procedures, should demonstrate the operation of the restaurant and all its specialist works, should aid the client in confirming the insurance responsibility for the works, should check the utility readings on behalf of the client, as the client will become responsible for payment of bills. The contract administrator will certify practical completion and will set dates for the rectification inspections, which are usually 6 or 12 months after the initial handover. In this video, we've talked about contract administration. If you'd like to know any more, then please email me, contact me through my website or through my LinkedIn profile. I'll be delighted to help.